Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages across all nations, races, and denominations, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today bringing you guys and gals One Piece chapter 807 and 808 review. Now, the video should have came out yesterday, but I got some new equipment. Now tell me how it looks, because I got me a new web camera, the C920 Logitech, as well as a Yeti Snowball microphone. So if it's better, let me know. If it's worse, let me know, and I'll adjust depending on what you guys say. Now, here's the thing. These chapters are relatively simple, straightforward, and the video shouldn't be that long, despite the fact that I'm doing 2 chapters in one video. So let's dive right in, alright? Chapter 807. This is the chapter where we find out what happened with Sanji and Nami and Brook when they met Big Mom and apparently Capone as well. And not only that, but it pretty much segues, the end segues into the whole Jack invading Zoll and the Minks seeing this giant mammoth just like stomping across their city. Now, first of all, I do like the fact that when it came to dialogue, even though we didn't see Sanji and there was no flashback of it specifically, according to Nami, it looks like Sanji just left. Like he just peaced. Like he had to go and take care of some stuff, which we all know revolves around what? The bounty. It's the freaking bounty, ladies and gentlemen. Now, first of all, I know at some point Oda's going to go back and show us, you know, how exactly Sanji left. Because he's like, there's no way he's not going to show us that. He has to show us that. It's a must. Number 2 is that some folks were telling me how Nami is very worried. Like, they were implying strongly that there's some Nami x Sanji shit going on here. And my response to that was, well, I mean, Oda's not doing any, like, relationship shit in One Piece. He doesn't do that unless it's like a flashback or is already established. But when it comes to the main crew specifically, he's not doing any of that stuff. So she's just worried because like she saw Sanji. I mean, Chopper's crying. Then again, he's always crying. When doesn't Chopper not cry, for fuck's sakes? But regardless of that, fucking kawaii Chopper. Yeah. The whole point here is that she's clearly worried because one of her crewmates just dipped. And, I mean, Zoro and Luffy, they're like, yeah. Like Luffy, of course, picking his nose shit. Like, he don't care. But, because he knows Sanji's going to come back at some point. Like, he has that gut feeling. When it came to the flashback, the first flashback, seeing Sanji and the rest of the crew not utilize the ship features because they didn't know how to use the ship features was absolutely ridiculous. I was like, wait. Like, that to me I found very surprising. Because when you look at the Straw Hat crew, you would think that they're a crew that is... Well, no, they are. They're a crew that has very good cohesion. When it comes to taking care of... Like, when they're working as a group, even though there is some conflict, like sometimes you have, let's say, someone does something cool, like Frankie fires a beam or some shit, and then you have Usopp, you have Chopper, you have Luffy, oh my god, beam, super, Robin and Nami, like, what the fuck is that shit? You have Sanji and Zoro always butting heads and shit. But there's always a sense of cohesion when it comes to the crew, and when Usopp and Frankie are gone, they can't use, like, not even half, like 90% of the ship features. Chopper can fire the cannon. That's it. Like, this, I think, points to something that is... It references something that Luffy said before in the series, where Luffy... I forgot where he said it. But Luffy stated... No, he said it to Arlong. I think it was Arlong. Where he said he can't navigate, he can't cook, he can't use a sword, he can't even snipe. He can't do that. Can't use a gun. But what he can do is kick your ass. And I think this boils down to the crewmates are too... They're too centered around their role to where they won't go out of their role. You see what I'm saying? So it's like Nami's the navigator, that's her job. But she won't take the time to try and learn some of the workings of the ship. Like, she won't do that. Sanji's the chef. He won't take his time to, let's say, go with Usopp and learn how to use X, Y, and Z of the ship. Robin's always reading, but she's not gonna learn how to cook. You see what I'm saying? Because that's Sanji's thing. Chopper's the doctor, but Frankie's not gonna come in and try and learn a thing or two from Chopper. No, they have set roles, and when you lose half of that crew, all of a sudden, if you imagine the entire crew to being a body, if you lose half the crew, you're losing half your limbs, and the crew can't function properly. At least that's the way it seems. Or some folks have to compensate. Like, let's say if you lose a leg, let's say you lose your right leg, your left leg has to be, stronger in order to compensate for the loss of the right leg. So that's what we basically saw in this chapter when it pertains to the flashback. Now, why Capone is there, honestly, I don't know. The last time we saw this dude, he was being sucked up into the freaking sky, and the next thing, he's with Big Mom. Did Big Mom have something to do with that being sucked up thing? I don't know. I have no idea. Alright, like, we knew that there was something going on with Drake and Kaido. That was from Jump Street. We knew, like, there was something going on there. And also with Gecko Mori and Kaido. That's still a thing. But Capone, Big Mom, why? No one knows, but we're going to find out one day. But let me get to that real quick. I felt like Sanji and Brook doing their thing and Chopper doing their thing in order to escape Big Mom's crew. That was too easy, man. That was way too easy. I mean, all they did was freeze the cannonballs, use Caesar Clown as a net, chuck Caesar Clown at Sanji. Sanji turned the frozen cannonballs into fire cannonballs, and they just wastelanded half of the left side of their ship. And that was it. And then Nami does the rain cloud with the weather egg, and then they peace. That's it, end of story. And the next day they wind up at Zoe. So I'm sitting here like, where's Big Mom? Where's the big woman? She should have came out like, you young motherfuckers think you can ruin my ship and get away with it? No. But none of that. So either Big Mom was on the ship, or she didn't care to do anything. Which, it can't really be the latter, because Caesar Clown owes her a lot. And she has beef with the Strat crew to begin with. So that's why I'm kind of confused. My only conclusion can be that Big Mom wasn't on the ship to begin with. So, is that her main ship? Like, I'm not too sure, because when the ship first came, they made it seem as if it was like Big Mom's personal ship, and you were like, whoa, Big Mom. So, I don't know. But I'm just going to assume that she was not on the ship. That was honestly like the biggest disappointment in the flashback. Just not seeing Big Mom come out or do anything. Easy. Cannonballs, kick, done, run away. Peace. And basically after that, after the flashback, it's just exposition about the kings of the country, how the Day King, Inuarashi, he was taken out. So, like, he went into a coma. And how, we don't know what happened to the Night King, Master Nekomamushi. No idea, but we're going to find out at some point, obviously. And, I mean, that's really the chapter in a nutshell. So, it segues into the second flashback, which happens in the next chapter. So, chapter 807, overall, I think it's a solid chapter. Like, it's not like, even though I like hearing about Sanji and how he just left, it's not really like a holy shit chapter. It really isn't. But again, Sanji, for me as a fanboy, like, it's a sigh of relief. Like, he didn't get captured. Like, there was no bitch shit going on. It was, he had a peace for reasons. So, that being said, the chapter overall, the exposition was fine, relatively speaking. and the flashback itself, it needed a lot more. But overall, the chapter was a solid OK plus chapter. So moving on from there, chapter 808. Now, this chapter, I think, gives us a lot more substance from a story progression standpoint as well as a world building standpoint. So overall, this chapter, I think, is a better chapter than the previous chapter. And basically, it can be highlighted under 4 points. The first point being the Mink combat system highlighted even further. The second point being seeing how Kaido's crew is structured to a certain degree. I can't say that Jack's crew applies to all crews, but nonetheless, it is seeing how Kaido's crew is structured. Then the third thing is some interesting dialogue when it pertains to Duki no Arashi. And then finally, you have the last, which is Chopper telling everybody that Jack had a poisonous gas weapon that he got from Caesar Clown. So let's start there, the last part. We all knew that Caesar Clown was making devil fruits, smile devil fruits, for Kaido. And Flamingo was the one that was doing like the exchanges. So Kaido wanted devil fruits, and in return he would give Flamingo or Caesar Clown money or whatever. Obviously, or I can't say obviously, the details may be more obscure than this, and we'll find out. But because Jack had a Caesar Clown poisonous gas weapon, we can assume that it wasn't just devil fruits that they exchanged between Caesar Clown, Flamingo, and Kaido. Because we knew that Caesar Clown was under the custody, if you would, of Sanji, Nami, Brook, Chopper, and Momonosuke, and he had the cuffs on him. So unless Jack took him back at some point within all of this chaos, which I don't think he actually did, because they came to the island, they came to Zou like 7 days after the event. So what I'm thinking here is that Jack had this poisonous weapon from Jump Street. He had it from the beginning. So that's my assumption. So that being said, this segues into the first part of, or the first point, where even though it's fascinating to find out that Caesar Clown, his weapon was in the hands of Jack, and where he is now, Caesar Clown, no idea. But according to Wanda, that's the reason why they lost, because of that weapon. Apparently, according to Wanda, the Mink had the upper hand on Jack and his men. Now, this is where I kind of have to scratch my chinny chin chin, because I'm going like, wait a second, hold on, what? Now, I have never said that the Mink are weak. They're not weak. But Jack has been hyped since Punk Hazard, and you're telling me that the guy who's been hyped this long, he's able to take out two marine battleships while dealing with apparently Tsurudu, Fujitora, and Sengoku. And on top of that, this guy is one of Kaido's top men, star of the Kaido Pirates, or like the 100 Beast Pirates, Jack the Drought. And they were on the losing end until that weapon came out. I gotta see it to believe it. Duki no Arashi could be a pretty strong dude. I don't doubt it. But to say that the Day Boys could, and you know, maybe it wasn't just the Day Boys, because we don't know how long this dragged out for. Because obviously Jack and his men must have been fighting day and night, because you had to deal with the day guys, and then you had to deal with the night guys. So you had to deal with Duki no Arashi, and then you had to deal with Master Neko Mamushi. What I'm guessing here is that it was the Mink themselves who overpowered Jack's men, not Jack specifically. That's what I'm thinking. Because we know that Jack and his men were still doing their thing when Sanji company got to the island, because Sanji took out Chief Sheet, one of the headliners of the gifters. So he was still there. He was still there doing his thing on Zou. Now, the whole thing here is this, though. Every mink is a fighter. From the babies to the old folk. They know how to throw a punch. They know how to shock. And when it comes to overall numbers, it's just Jack and his crew versus how many millions of mink. So Jack and his crew are outnumbered, and the quality of the mink fighters was probably greater than that of Jack's crew, because not only did you have some fairly powerful regulars, but also you had the musketeers. And the musketeers are, well, we don't know how powerful they are, but they're a cut above the rest. And we get to see one of them. He's throwing around these minks like whatever. His name is Full-Powered Sicilian. I mean, first of all, full-powered, I don't know why. No idea why. Sicilian, in my mind, I'm going like, yo, it's late, but there's got to be at least one pizzeria open. I'm looking for some squares with some pepperoni right now, son. That's what I'm looking for. So, he's a squad commander within the Duke Inuarashi army. So, we get a lot of information on how the structure of their military is. And it's fairly fascinating. But on the opposing side, you had Jack and his boys. Now, you have your pleasures, and then you have your gifters, and then you have, like, the captain. So he's the captain of the Mammoth. That's one of the ships under Kaido's wing. And the gifters are those that were given devil fruit powers. So we can assume just smile devil fruits from Caesar Clown. That's my assumption. The pleasures are the regular Joes. So the mink can deal with the pleasures fairly easily. However, the gifters, we're not too sure how they stand with the gifters, the regular mink. And then from there, you have the headliners. So as far as we saw, there's only one headliner, and that's Sheep Sheet. The other one, Ginrumi, I'm not too sure where she stands. But Sheep Sheet was the only headliner, and he was still there 7 days later, still fighting, and Sanji took him out. So when it comes to the quality of men, you had a few guys who were gifters, then you had one headliner, then you had one captain like over the headliner, and that was Jack. So that's the reason why I think Jack was on the losing end, because there were more quality fighters available for the Mink because it was their homeland, obviously, and Jack was the invading force, but it was only just one ship, and it was his boys, and that was it. And that's pretty much how I see it. So the details, again, are fairly obscure there, because we don't know how exactly the Mink were on top, but we're going to find out. And finally, the last part, when it comes to Duke Inuarashi, I mean, very simply put, the dialogue is fascinating there with Luffy, because he mentions how when he's thanking the Strat crew, he's including Luffy in there. And I said it in my live reaction, but definitely the case that Luffy beat Flamingo, therefore forcing Jack's hand because he had to leave Zol to go and try and reclaim Flamingo. That has to be the case. I mean, what else is there? Is there some kind of like hidden connection between Luffy and some other mink that we haven't realized is a mink? Like, I'm not too sure. So, fact of the matter here is, Luffy he played a role in helping the mink, even though he wasn't on Zou. So, that being said, the chapter overall, this chapter, much better than the last chapter. I'm going to give a rating of a good plus to great, and I'm done. So, King Lightning, rate the video, comment, subscribe. Peace. Have a nice goddamn day.
It's the life.